Justin, how are you, my friend?
I'm fantastic, man. We are about 2 hours and 20 minutes from FBS action on TV. Week 1 is here. Week 0
Insane.
was neat and all. I love watching Nebraska embarrass themselves as much as anyone else, but this is the real deal, and this is my element. So I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to have some college football on the schedule.
Yeah, I mean, and what a great way to start it off with Gundy's mullet against the Chippewas, some of our favorite MAC teams to bet on. Yeah, I'm with you. It really feels like football season's back. Doing some stuff around the bar today, which we'll be ready for this Saturday. Just it's that time of year, man. It's all been a drill up till now. Now the real stuff happens. So it's nothing better than this. Come on.
It's one of those, like, going into last season after 2020. I don't know. I still had this feeling, like, in the back of my mind that, like, the season might get canceled at any point just after all the chaoticness. COVID is still a thing. I'm not trying to be dismissive, but it kind of seems like we've reached a point now where, like, sports are going to keep on chugging. It's not going to be an issue. We're going to have crowds. We're going to have, a somewhat normal college football season. And, for someone like me that loves all the tailgating and just the people being together, that's what it's all about. Like, the pageantry matters just as much as the sport in college football. So it's just cool to just have it. And to have the DNVR bar be back open for it all is exactly what we need. It's just going to be the perfect spot for y'all to watch college football. Come through this weekend. We'll be open Friday and Saturday for the Buffs and Rams games. Come, say what's up to the homies, and then come to the grand reopening. It's going to be epic.
Yeah, it really is. And you're right. Even last year, even the rosters and stuff, like, there was some return. It was just different. Now it feels like wide open. We really need to, like, unwrap the college football season in 2022. See what it holds for us. You never know what crazy upsets will fall our way, like Northwestern upsetting Nebraska in week 0, though. Mid
That was kind
upset.
of easy money, to be honest.
Yeah,
I will admit, I thought Nebraska would cover, and I do think talent-wise they were the better team. And what we saw out of Casey Thompson, the Texas transfer quarterback, that was all intriguing. But ultimately, Nebraska is going to Nebraska, and in a week 0 game, in another country, that should have saw that one coming from a mile away. I'm glad I didn't actually take Nebraska to cover, but that's what I did recommend on my pod. So my apologies to everyone out there. We can't win them all. I big brained that one. I overthought it. And I got to remember Scott Frost is still Scott Frost.
Yeah, the more research I did, the more I got scared of fading Nebraska, and then it played out just perfectly. Those defenses were such garbage, too, on both sides.
So bad.
Just,
It made for an intriguing game, but man, I'd be concerned if I was a fan of either of those teams, and realizing you're going to have to go up against some legit rushing attacks. And, the Michigan schools, Ohio State, even Purdue, and some of those teams look kind of frisky. So it'll be interesting.
There was a part of me watching that game that thought, is this what we were attached to? Being able to tune into a Big Ten game and know, oh yeah, it's crappy Big Ten football. Like, neither of these quarterbacks are very good, and yeah, maybe that attack.
I like that there's different styles though. Like, I mean, I'd prefer a Michigan Ohio State game, obviously, but I don't know. There's some comfort in knowing, like, if I turn on a Pac-12 game, I know what it's going to look like. If I turn on a Big Ten game, I know what it's going to look like. And we're going to lose some of that with conference realignment. When you get USC playing Purdue in November, what's that going to look like? I don't know. But I don't know. I like the quirkiness of college football. So I lean into all of it, even if it's not necessarily the best product at all times.
There you go. Yeah, it's not always about consistency in product. It's about entertainment and enjoyment. And when you have DraftKings Sportsbook to bet on all these games, that just goes through the roof. So yeah, Justin, why don't we start off with you? You're clearly hyped. You're clearly dialed. So let's start off with your big 3 here.
Yeah, let's get into it. We already mentioned this game earlier. It's the first game on TV tonight. Central Michigan going to Oklahoma State. I like the Chippewas to cover. I
Consensus.
respect what Gundy's built at Oklahoma State, but
Sure.
Central Michigan, they return their starting quarterback. They've got the best running back in the MAC. I like them going up against an Oklahoma State defense that lost 9 starters. I just think that 21 points, that's a lot for an experienced team. They're well coached. I have a lot of respect for Jim McElwain. I like Central Michigan in this one, although I do think Oklahoma State wins by multiple scores. Sticking with the theme of Michigan, I like Michigan State to cover the 3 scores against Western Michigan. Western Michigan's going to struggle, and I think that the run game that the Spartans are going to be able to bring is going to be too much. Got Buffs transfer going over there, Broussard. San Jose State and Portland State. I really struggled with this one. I want to take San Jose State to cover at home, but I don't know. Portland State, they've got just enough talent at receiver that it makes me a little bit hesitant. 23 is a little steep. I do like the over, though. San Jose State added Hawaii transfer quarterback Chevin Cordero. Really dynamic dual threat guy. They added a couple of Nevada receivers as well. There's going to be some points scored in that one. And if you think that they're going to cover, the over should hit anyways, unless it ends up being, like a 43-7 type deal, which can always happen. Portland State, typically one of the better FCS programs, so I think they should be able to score a touchdown or two. And I like that over hitting fairly comfortably.
Oh, major bag alert. He does this to us every time he's on the show. Prepped, researched, gives you all the logical picks. He's the king, Justin Michael. You're too good for us, frankly. Pleasure to hear.
We got a good slate tonight. We were lucky.
Yeah. It's true. And 2 of those picks tonight, then you gave us a Saturday, right? Michigan State's on Saturday or Friday?
I think that one might be Friday.
Friday. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Western Michigan just not the same since PJ Fleck left. Sad.
Yeah, he left and he brought his paddle with him. He's rowing that boat at Minnesota. Minnesota actually plays tonight against New Mexico State. I kind of like New Mexico State to cover 36 against the Gophers. They're on the road, so it makes me a little bit hesitant. But New Mexico State against Nevada last week, they ran the ball well. Their receivers looked a little bit dynamic at times. I don't know. I could see them losing by 35, getting a backdoor cover, something like that. Minnesota, I don't know if their offense exactly screams, like we're going to throw 50 on the board. So I'd consider sprinkling it. I'm not saying I recommend it. I wouldn't put it in my big 3, but it wouldn't shock me to see New Mexico State cover against Minnesota. Just speaking of PJ Fleck.
Yeah. I like that. Man, lots to think about on this one, but that you make a great point. I think Vegas going a little too crazy on these big spreads for the dogs. And these out of it's week 1. A lot of these teams, like, it's the first time they're really playing against someone other than their teammates, which is why we can go to my big 3, Kale. I too am in on the Chippewas to cover.
Let's go
21.5. I mean, I think it's going to be entertaining. I'm intrigued by the over in this one. So, yeah, there you go. And then I'm going to take the under Pitt 29.5 points. That's a team total. You get it at plus 100, which is tremendous value. Taking on West Virginia. Love that they're bringing this back with these 2 teams, out of conference, but obviously an important regional rivalry. And this is a classic fade Keaton Slovis pick. They've just gone through too many changes offensively at Pitt. Again, week 1, they're going to feel this a little more. West Virginia, sneaky on defense and have been for the last few years. So I'm going to take that under on the Pitt team total. And then, I'm head at heart. I do well on baseball bets. So we're going to take Brandon Woodruff, Woody, as we call him, over 6.5 Ks. You get tremendous value on that. They're taking on the Arizona Diamondbacks. I think it'll be a bit of a sneaky pitcher's duel against Merrill Kelly and Woodruff hitting this at about, a 2-1 rate. So something that's hitting at a 2-1 rate at plus 115, sign me up. That's easy money, essentially. So I'm all in on that as well. I love the picks Justin gave out. Going to get in on all of those. And I think I'll be sprinkling that New Mexico State spread, as you suggested. Of course, all these lines and the SGP we're going to get into in the second half of the show, all to you by King of Sportsbooks, DraftKings Sportsbook. They are, they're just the homies, plain and simple. We've waited almost, the wait is over. It's a new football season. And one of the official betting partners of the NFL to celebrate the return of football, I think is a new customer can't miss offer where you can bet just $5 on any football game and get $200 in free bets instantly. It's an insane deal. That's on top of the actual wager you might win on your own. They're just going to throw you $200 in free bets just for signing up and depositing $5. All you got to do is download that DraftKings Sportsbook app, use that promo code DNVR to get $200 in free bets instantly when you place a $5 bet on any football game. That's code DNVR, only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports bettor. The NFL must be 21 or older. Colorado, only one per new customer. Minimum $5 deposit and wager. $200 issued as 8 $25 free bets. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings see terms at DraftKings.com/sportsbook. Sportsbook. Gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. You can tell a little rusty. I haven't been on bets all week. This is the first bets episode of the week. That's the kind of week it's been for me. First of the month, always insane. But I needed this. I needed some betting talk. It's kind of like when I went through the sportsbook app yesterday, it was almost like looking at an ex through a window, as she's having dinner. She's on a date with someone else. It was just like, I miss you. I miss DraftKings being part of my life and this GD show. So real nice to be on here. But as you know, Justin, and I'm so glad you're here for this, SGPs are a thing on DraftKings Sportsbook, and we can build one for these college football games. Gosh, I didn't realize how MAC heavy this slate is. We could pivot and just go a MAC only parlay for the day, but that's that might be putting too much pressure on us. If you had to pick a game to throw your SGP on between Chippewas at Okie State or West Virginia at Pitt, what would you lean on?
I think we got to go West Virginia Pitt because I too want to fade Keaton Slovis. As soon as you said that, I was already considering flirting with the West Virginia money line anyways, because I just like the value. I think they have a chance to pull this upset. I know they're on the road. It's going to be a tough one. They're 7.5-point dogs, but I a lot of Pitt love for a team that lost its starting quarterback and the Biletnikoff winner. I do think that defensively they're stout, but I think they have the worst of the former USC quarterbacks. I like JT Daniels in West Virginia to pull this one out. And just West Virginia money line and Pitt under 29.5 going off of your big three. That's already plus 320. So I love that value. I mean, we could throw like one more piece on that and we're sitting pretty.
Yeah, I really like that. That's how it's done right there. We might have two SGPs in us here. I don't know. First half spread. Where else to go on these? It's always a tough call.
You have a little less options on the college SGPs than you do on the NFL because there's less player bets, unfortunately. But that has to do with state laws. That's not a DraftKings thing.
Legislators, damn you, legislators. Could we take a West Virginia over?
That's kind of what I was thinking.
West Virginia over 21.5?
Yeah, I mean, if they win, if you go to if you if you go over 22.5, you get plus 100 versus minus 105 at over 21.5 if you're willing to go the one more.
Yeah, I like that. I'm all about
Guys,
that.
so now we're at plus 425, which feels pretty good.
That feels really good. And I mean, essentially you call the upset, and I think if the upset falls, I think the rest is going to fall pretty much in line for you. You do worry about a Narduzzi coach defense
I was going to say
maybe getting us.
like a 13-10 game, something like that, you
Yeah,
could get screwed, but it's early enough that I think you'll see
right,
some big runs, some, broken coverage, stuff like that. If this game was in November or something, I would feel worse
right.
about it. But early on, I do think you'll see some missed tackling, some broken
Hmm.
plays. That's just kind of a part. I'm all in on overs early on in the season just
Yes,
because I think
yes.
teams defensively are a significant step behind, given that you don't play preseason games in college football. It's just a lot different.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. It's I mean, and I was reminded of that in that Nebraska Northwestern game was like the over hits in the third quarter. The fourth, I think, is almost scoreless, or very low scoring fourth. But just the random like turnovers and stuff, the extra possessions that are gained here and there, it's just so much more unpredictable and open. Um, so uh, I, I'm with it. I'm with it. I think you're right to read it that way. Maybe a little bit of a hedge, and we stick to 21.5, which I believe is still plus 425. So not bad at all. Any other hot picks for the weekend? Any other team totals we need to
Yeah,
jump
let's
in
pull it up
on?
here real quick.
Like what's
Today,
the Rams
I
total?
like Tennessee to cover 35.5 against Ball State. It is a
Mm,
massive spread, and it makes me work. I generally speaking don't love to take spreads over like 4 scores just because
mm-hmm.
you're counting on a lot
Yeah.
of things to go your way. I will say I think Tennessee is going to score a lot of points this year. I think they very easily could throw 70 on the board tonight, and so I think that actually has a pretty decent chance of hitting. A lot of these spreads are a little bit rich for my blood. I
Yeah.
I'm getting I I like the Buffs to cover 13.5 at home against TCU. I don't quite understand the respect for TCU to be honest. I don't think the Buffs are going to be very good. I'm not even saying that as like, being a hater, being the
Mm-hmm.
Rams guy or anything like that. I just think when you look at the schedule that they're playing, it's going to be tough for them to grind out a good season, but
Yeah.
early on at home, I saw they have like 45,000 tickets already sold. It's going to
Yeah.
be a good crowd. I like the Buffs to cover at home. I don't know if I'm bold enough to say they're going to win, but cover 13.5. All right.
Yeah, I mean it's an interesting TCU program because I could see them kind of being a surprise in the Big 12. Because there is some decent talent. But I could also
Especially
see it.
defensively.
Yeah, for sure. And they've got that wide receiver. That's no joke. But yeah, that's not, that doesn't make a winning team. It's the elements of a winning team. And I also think, we got to see if the Buffs are anywhere close to being more middle of the road offensively than like bottom five in the entire FBS, then a lot more possibilities open up. While you mentioned the Buffs, how are we feeling about the Rams in the Big House?
I like CSU to cover 30.5, which is what it was at the last time that I
Yep.
saw. I'm not gonna say anything crazy. I don't think, they're gonna go into the big house and pull an App State. It'd be
Yeah.
epic to see. Nobody would love it more than
No
me.
doubt.
But I as long as they don't get punched in the mouth and go down like 21-0 in the first quarter or something, which is always your big fear in these type of games, I think they can hang around for a little bit. I think
Mm-hmm.
they'll scheme in a way that'll get the ball out of Clay Millen's hands fast and try and get him some confidence. Just, quick screens,
Yeah.
mesh routes, stuff like that. I I do think they are going to have to stretch the field a little bit so that this Michigan defense can't just, let the dogs loose. But they only returned 4 starters from last year defensively. They're probably maybe a better offensive team this year than they were last year, though. So it's definitely a tough matchup. But I do like the Rams to cover 30.5. I just think that's a little steep. I think CSU should score enough to where it should be okay. I'm curious, where are you at with Georgia, Oregon? Georgia 17-point favorites.
Yeah.
There's a part of me that really wants to take the Ducks to cover because Georgia has so much to replace. I think they win this game. I think they're just going to be too physical in the end.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to be like when Alabama played USC a couple years ago, it was like 50-10 or something like that. I think it's going to be back and forth.
Well, and Oregon has some real talent on defense too, so it's not like that's a slouch squad on that side of the ball. It's all going to be the Bo Nix factor, and that's where I'm super torn. Actually, went back, looked at the game logs for what did Bo Nix and Nix himself do against Georgia the last 3 years. As a freshman, kept it close within a touchdown. The other 2 years, sophomore, junior, they got blown out by over 3 touchdowns. So that took away some of my confidence. Also, we talk about this in college football with those top programs like Bama, like Michigan, like Ohio State, like Georgia, certainly, where it kind of becomes like a boa constrictor. It's not, they don't maul you right from the start, but they just kind of squeeze you slowly but surely, and the margins just start to decrease, and you get beat up, and all of a sudden the big plays break open, and the turnovers come, and before you know it, that 17-point spread got covered really easily. That said, against my better judgment, I am taking Oregon plus 17 and riding it out with Bo Nix. I mean, how could you not? Come on.
Here's the thing about Bo Nix. As a Bama guy who had to watch this guy somehow keep Auburn in it, he's got some cojones. Like he won't be intimidated. He's one of those quarterbacks that for all of what he lacks, he goes out and believes he can do it all. And I think you kind of have to have that in a game like this.
Yeah.
But more than anything, I love what Oregon brings defensively. Noah Sewell might be the best linebacker in the country this year.
Absolutely.
So I just think that they keep it tighter. I wish we could get a couple more points. I wish it was like 20. I wish they were really throwing some shade on them, and then I'd feel great about it. But I still like Oregon to cover the 17.
Is the under really the play in that game? Is that what we're dancing around? 52.5 for 2 defenses we feel pretty good about. It is 2 veteran quarterbacks, though.
That's the only thing that I worry about getting backdoored there.
Yeah.
The unders in college are such a gamble. Even in the SEC now with all the spread offense and stuff, it's like,
it's crazy.
I don't know. I could see Georgia's tight ends, just going crazy. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden it's like those 2 alone scored 4 touchdowns. Then it's like, what was I thinking on the under? So I think I'd rather lean on Oregon to cover than flirt with the point total. But if you're all in on the dogs, that could end up being the smart play because they're, chances are they're probably going to be just as loaded even after losing all those guys.
Right.
The last one I wanted to ask you about, though, is Utah, Florida, because this one really screws me up because I'm all in on Utah. I've had all the Utah stock for a couple of years now, as have you. But I love a home dog in Florida at home, getting points in the swamp. I don't know, that's a tough one for me. It might be a stay away for me as much as I love this game and am excited to watch it.
It is a toughie, but
Utah's the better team. I don't even think that's a question. But there is something to being a home dog. Billy Napier debut. The Swamp's going to be rocking. They're going to be playing all the Tom Petty music and, singing "We Won't Back Down." So
Yeah.
I don't know, that worries me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. I will say
Yeah.
Whittingham teams, they just kind of have that attitude of like, we don't give a shit. We'll go into the swamp. We'll kick your ass. Like we've been doing this to everyone for 10 years. Who do you think you are? So I do think Utah's the better team, but it's a game that's I've been a little gun shy to bet on it.
Yeah, I'm with you, but it also comes down to like don't overthink it, stick to your guns. I always trust a good returning backfield, and that's what Utah has on top of
That's a good point.
all the other stuff that's really reliable. We'll see. Big test for Anthony Richardson. That'll be intriguing.
Yeah.
Notre Dame, Ohio State, man, 17 points for the Bucks. We'll close it out with this. How are you feeling about that one?
I think Ohio State covers pretty easily. I just think the talent gap in this one is going to be too significant. I think Notre Dame will be a pretty decent team this year, and I
Mm-hmm.
think Freeman's a great coach. I think he's going to recruit well. I think he'll bring a different energy that Kelly maybe couldn't. But
Right.
as much as Kelly is a dork, and believe me, I love making fun of the my family stuff.
So fun. Yes.
He's also kind of like a brilliant offensive coach
Yes.
and a guy who really puts his quarterbacks in a position to succeed. And losing that is significant. Again, like I think LSU is going to be good with Kelly. I don't know if they're going to turn it around, and start out
Right.
recruiting
Right.
Bama or anything like that. That's doubtful, but that's a good coach. And having to play Ohio State with all the talent that they have on both sides of
Yeah.
the ball for game one for Freeman, that's a tall task. So I think Ohio State covers this one pretty easily. Um, I'd maybe even consider like buying a couple more points, like Ohio State up to like 20,
Mm,
21.
interesting. I mean, that offense for the Buckeyes is going to be insane. Notre Dame has lost a lot of talent on defense over the years. It's just week one. It's kind of that Georgia Oregon essentially matchup.
Well,
I
we
mean,
saw
it's
Ohio State struggle week one with Oregon
Mhm.
last year. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's happened before. I'm not all in on CJ Stroud the same way that everybody else is. I could see a scenario in which he struggles a little bit, but I
Uh,
also just think that the talent that Ohio State has at wide receiver, it's like he doesn't even have to be that good. Just get the ball in their hands and they're going to make plays.
yeah, for sure. Um, well, that's why you are the best. Follow Justin and all his stuff on DNVR Rams. This is his time of year, man. You don't want to miss anything. And yeah, get all these bets in because it's going to be a really fun Thursday night and Friday of college football going right into the weekend. So thank you, Justin. Appreciate you. Thank you, producer Kale. Best of luck on your bets. We out.